नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है। मैं हूं राहुल और आप देख रहे हैं eVidya चैनल्स और NCERT का ऑफिशियल यूट्यूब चैनल और ऑफिशियल फेसबुक पेज, जहां पर हम हाजिर हैं लेकर आज फ्राइडे की वो पेशकश जिसका आपको बेसब्री से इंतजार रहता है। आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट मनोदर्पण परिचर्चा, एन इनिशिएटिव ऑफ मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एजुकेशन फॉर साइकोसोशल सपोर्ट एंड मेंटल वेल-बीइंग ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स, in which we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is preparing to tackle examination stress. एग्जामिनेशन का नाम सुनते ही स्ट्रेस का पैदा होना लाजमी है, स्वाभाविक है, लेकिन उसको काउंटर कैसे करना है, उसको टैकल कैसे करना है, दिस इज एन आर्ट। और आर्ट कोई भी हो, कला किसी भी प्रकार की हो, उसे सीखने में समय लगता है, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है कि उसे सीखा नहीं जा सकता। यही हमारा आज का ये शानदार सेशन आपको बताने जा रहा है। आप भी हमारे साथ इस लाइव इंटरेक्टिव सेशन का हिस्सा बन सकते हैं। यदि आप चाहें तो 8800440559 पर अभी फोन कर सकते हैं, या मनोदर्पण की हमारी जो हेल्पलाइन है जो हमेशा काम करती रहती है, वो नंबर भी मैं आपको बता देता हूं, विच इज 8448440632 इज द हेल्पलाइन नंबर ऑफ मनोदर्पण सेल। इसके अलावा आप हमारे साथ सीधे जुड़ सकते हैं। ईमेल आईडीज भी आपको इस सेशन में मिलेंगी। उसका पूरा पोर्टल जो कि मिनिस्ट्री के द्वारा मनोदर्पण का सेल है वो भी ऑपरेट होता है, आपके स्क्रीन पर फ्लैश हो रहा है। So I would like to invite on screen, we have a very good panel to discuss on this wonderful topic, preparing to tackle examination stress in today's Manodarpan Paricharcha. I would like to invite Professor Balaida R. Dakhar. She is the professor from our Northeast Regional Institute of Education, Shillong. Professor Bala, namaskar and a very warm welcome.
Namaste to everyone and a very good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. And also we have Ms. Singjay Marak from DERT Shillong. Ms. Singjay, namaskar and a very warm welcome.
Namaskar, everyone, and a very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Singjay Marak, and I'll be one of the panelists for this discussion.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And also we have Dr. Maxwell Lingdo, MLCU Shillong. Dr. Maxwell, namaskar and a very warm welcome.
A very good afternoon to one and all present. I am a career counselor, expert by profession, and I also do counseling. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you here, sir. Good afternoon. And let's move to the next panelist, Ms. Bansara B. Pasa. She's a counselor from Government Children's Home, Girls, Nongpo. Ms. Bansara, namaskar and a very warm welcome.
Hello, everyone. I am a counselor at the Children's Home, Girls, Nongpo for the last 7 to 8 years. So I hope this program would be very helpful to everyone who's hearing it. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you very much. A very good afternoon. And we have a last panelist I would like to introduce to the audience, Mr. Rajiv Lalu. He's the assistant lecturer psychology. Mr. Rajiv, namaskar. Good afternoon.
Namaste. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you. Good afternoon to everyone, including my panelist.
Thank you very much. So we with all these eminent panelists, we are going to start our today's Manodarpan Paricharcha on the topic of preparing to tackle examination stress. I would like to invite on screen again and request Professor Balaida R. Dakhar from our Shillong Center. Ma'am, would you please moderate this session?
Yes, Mr. Rahul, and thank you so much. And once again, a very good afternoon to everyone. So today's is on preparing to tackle examination stress, as Mr. Rahul has just mentioned. So I welcome once again to all the panelists to this session. And as you all know, this is examination time across the country. Students are preparing their boards exams at 10th and as well as 12th. We see students, as well as their parents under immense stress, and often hear news about tragic incidents caused by their anxieties, especially students. A number of psychological problems are being experienced by students before, during, and also after the exams. These include stress, anxiety, depression, and on a very serious cases, suicides too. So we now it is for this reason that we are beginning the first Paricharcha session of this year on how students can prepare to manage stress arising out of examination. We will have more sessions on this theme, And well, in this session, we are talking on preparing for stress. This means we anticipate that the examination time can be very stressful. And so rather than intervening later, we can prepare to tackle it beforehand so that we experience minimal stress during exams. So with that introductory note, now I request Mrs. Sinji Marak, the State ECCE Coordinator, SSA Meghalaya, to kindly share her thoughts on the topic.
Okay, thank you, Bala, for giving me this time. And also, I just want to say hi to all the panelists here. The topic that I have brought for this interactive discussion today is time management to tackle the examination among students. I'll be dealing on three topics, that is why time management is important for students, and what are the tips and strategies that we can take away from here, and also the benefits of time management, and the tools that we need to develop or practice in ourselves so that we can manage our time. So these are the things that I'll be discussing, and I just hope that the children who are going to give their exams now will have something to take away from here, and this will help them in tackling the examination that is coming in just a few weeks from now on. Now, time management for students and also for everyone is just making our day purposeful, and it is about taking control of the time that we have in our hand and optimizing it for focusing, for productivity, and above all, the balance between the task and the free time that we have between ourselves. So it is, before we understand what time management is, I think it is important for the students to know what is time management. Now, time, of all the assets that we have, is the most important asset that we all have as human beings in our lives, because time is very precious. And in the West, we say and hear people saying that time is money. This has been debated and this has been argued. And I believe that time, for people who want to be successful, they say it's money. So all of us, it is especially for the students, it is very crucial to understand why time management is important. Now, all of us make the most of the limited amount of time that we have in a day. It is very easy to get wrapped in a fury of various activities and accomplish very less. Now, managing time effectively, it enables the students to become more confident, to be more organized, and even to learn more efficiently. Now, we have people talking about effective time management skills, and which are particularly very essential for the school students and the students who are going to tackle their examinations very soon, especially for the high school students, when they have the projects, many subjects to tackle, and also the tests, the assignments at hand, and also extracurricular activities. So time management techniques can help the students to be on the right track and also cope with the stress of added responsibilities. Now we know that students at this time, when they are having the last sessions in their school, the examinations are at hand, and there are many projects that they need to finish, that they need to complete. So these are the added responsibilities that they have added to the usual school tasks that they have. So students, they are burdened with too many responsibilities, too many tasks. So why is time management very important for students? Number one, I would say like it enables one to accomplish goals faster. So if you appropriately manage your time, it makes you more effective and encourages you to give the best of what you are doing and what you can. That means to achieve the goals faster, much faster. And number two, I would say that it enables you to prioritize your work. Now, priorities are some things that everyone needs to have in hand. Number one, prioritizing the most important things that we have at hand in our daily life, in our daily activities is very, very important. So when we create, some people, they create timetables, and I think this is a very good practice. Now, when you're creating a timetable, we prioritize and arrange the tasks that need immediate attention. For example, if the students have to complete their assignments before attending a session or before attending their classes, then the student can fit in their work on time, and the assignments didn't keep pending. So they can prioritize. And when you have the management of time, when you manage your time properly, then you can prioritize your work. And also, it enables you to get more done in less time. When you prioritize, when you manage your time well, then you are able to things in less time. You get enough time for yourself. When you're dedicated to a specified amount of time for a particular task, and you help to focus, it helps you to focus on it. And instead of working on a given task with no predefined time assigned, you can complete the same task by sticking on the time plan. Now, without a time plan, we might completely forget. Sometimes it is very easy to forget the things which are very, very important. So when you manage your time, you will be able to prioritize and do the particular work on time. And also, one of our panelists will be talking about stress. This is very, very important issue that everyone is facing in our lives. And time management skills can help us to prioritize the time which is required for essential tasks. Prioritizing tasks and having enough time to accomplish those tasks can reduce so much of stress that we have in our day-to-day lives. And another thing is also why time management is important is because it helps you to be more efficient. You become more efficient, you become more confident of yourself when you effectively manage your time. Now, managing time at school, college, or university, or even us at our workplace can increase efficiency. You know, the efficiency level of a person, it can go up, and it will enable you to accomplish more tasks in less time. So there are some students who procrastinate. I think I'm also one of those, you know, during my student life, maybe. I always think that I can do my work tomorrow, whatever has been assigned, and which I know is very, very important. Sometimes you procrastinate, which is very, very bad. And, you know, procrastination should be avoided as much as possible. So if you manage your time, you stay focused and you are more productive. So these are the important, points why we think like time management is very, very important. It enables you to accomplish your goals and helps you to prioritize work and enables us to get more things done in a very less time. So these are some of the important things why we should understand that time management is very, very important. And also for those students who are going to give their exams, there are many chapters to cover There are many projects to be completed. So if we don't manage our time properly, we know that we'll be at lost, and success will not be at your steps. So it is very, very important to know and understand why time management is important. Now, what are the certain tips and strategies that we can take away with us from this discussion? I just would like to point out some few things. What are the certain tips and some strategies for time management? Now, efficient time management is one of the primary ways, one of the primary key to success. And it is worth learning. It is worth to learn why time management should be done by every one of us. Now, some of the tips that I can enlist here are make use of a daily template to plan the day. Now, I like, keeping a things to do list with me. And I always do that because I'm becoming older, and I'm also, getting older and being very forgetful of the things that we need to do. So I always keep a kind of a small diary with me so that I can list the things that I need to do in my daily life. So what are the things that I need to do, and what have I done? At the end of the day, when I have that list of things with me, then I list and tick it off. What are the things that I have done, and what are the things that I have not accomplished? So some of the things that burdens a student during this time when the exams are coming, they have chunks of work, they have so many things to do, they have projects to complete, they have seminars, or sometimes they have small group discussions that they need to attend and then discuss. Then they have group projects that they need to do. So a daily template or things to do diary helps you to control your time every day, and it helps us to stay organized and focused on the things that matter to us, and also to overcome procrastination. Now, even multi-billionaires like Elon Musk and Bill Gates, they use this time blocking. They call it time blocking, and that is to prioritize things and then have the list of things to do at your hand, so that they know how each minute is being spent, how each hour is being spent, and what are the things that can be accomplished. So these are the things. So if students want to be successful, they can use this tip to use their time effectively and efficiently, so that they will be able to manage their time more efficiently and fruitfully. And they also need to understand how what are the things that you are doing with your time, how are you spending your time, and where are you losing it. The time that you're losing, are you using it efficiently? Are you using it effectively? Are you being productive? Fruitful? Is the time that you are using fruitful? So you have to have an ideal version of your day in order to analyze how you spent your time, and in order to develop time management habits. If you understand that you are using your time effectively and efficiently, then you can stay focused. So time management is important for us to know what I am spending my time on, whether the time that I'm spending on, is it important or is it less important, or should I prioritize on some other things. And then they also help you to set proper goals to measure your progress. Now, there are certain things that people like to do, and you don't know whether that is leading you to progress. Is it leading you to progress, or are you stuck in something that you are doing always? Are you not progressing? So goals we can set goals, and they are an excellent way to get you motivated. Goals are very, very important because it helps us to get motivated to do and accomplish success. Now, the problem is that goals are just the result without knowing whether you have achieved them or not. So focus needs to be done to achieve that goal by focusing on constant progress and developing better habits. If you are doing the same thing over and over again, it's not giving you any results, then you are stuck. So you have to know and understand and develop good habits, the practice, so that you can develop better habits. For example, supposing I need to cover 10 chapters, and I am dwelling only on the same chapter every day, which I'm not able to accomplish, so which I'm not able to complete. So that will keep you, even though you know only a particular chapter too well, that will not help you to complete the entire 10 chapters. So it's good to set goals, and then saying that I will be able to accomplish 5 chapters today, 2 chapters today, and in 10 days I'll be able to complete the 10 chapters. So that way, you need to focus and see whether the progress, are you progressing or are you stuck? So you need to see that. So another thing is, another tip that I would like to give to the students is, like, don't try to accomplish tasks at one go. You can break your large projects or tasks into smaller tasks. So when you do that, it is easy for you to it. You can goal setting. You can do a proper goal setting by segregating the large tasks or large goals into smaller daily tasks. And this will help you to stay focused and stop you from procrastinating again. Because sometimes you think like, oh, today, I'll just keep it for today. I'll do it tomorrow. So that way, sometimes, it never comes, your task in time. And you feel like completing 10 chapters in 10 days, it might not be possible for you if the chapters are long, if the book that you are reading is long, the examination that you're preparing is long. So if you help on some units or topics, then it will help you to complete your task. For example, supposing today I want to study on some parts of history, the nationalism in India. So it's such a huge chapter that you might not be able to. So you can break it down into smaller tasks, and that way you'll be able to complete the task in the time that you have given. Now, you should also be realistic about the time that you need to complete the task. Once you begin, don't put it off for another day. You should always plan that you should be able to achieve what you have planned on a particular day, and once you begin the schedule, once you have the things to do list in your hand, complete the tasks for the day so that you get optimistic about how much you can achieve. Some psychologists, they call it the planning fallacy. So this is very important for effective time management, and it's a very good tip for the students. So once you begin, do not stop. This is very, very important. And also, when you are doing it only studies, we all say like all play, what is that? I forgot. There is a maxim saying that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So we should always pay attention to all our body's energy levels as well, because it is very, very important for us to have our energy levels, the high and low energy levels. We have to look at our energy level. When your energy levels are high, we'll be able to accomplish things, more effectively. So we should always look at our energy. But sometimes, as human beings, we all feel lazy, and we all feel lethargic, and we don't want to do things at times. So when you are having that kind of a body energy levels, you should always look at your energy levels and adjust your task accordingly, so that you do not fail to accomplish the task that is before you. And it is also good to take breaks at times, all work and taking a break, going for a walk, and then it gives more productivity. When your energy is down, there are some certain things that you need to be doing. Sometimes you can take a nap, or maybe you can go for a walk, talk to your dog, or if you are a pet lover, you can take your dog for a walk. And then if you're feeling sleepy, you can either sit down and talk to your friends. So these are certain things that you can do. This is one tip that I should give for all my dear students. It is good to remove distractions. Now at this age, especially at this age, the students are into more on social media, and also with friends. Now we have social media, we have cell phones now, and friends, and these are, sometimes it becomes your distraction, especially social media. I think somebody will be talking about that, and it is one of the worst. So the social media is one of the worst distraction that every student is facing. They don't take it as distractions, but we as adults, we know that these are distractions. So cell phones that everyone is having, it is very, very easy to get distracted. So when the students were preparing for their exams, it is good if you can, keep timing for your cell phones, for talking to your friends on social media, or playing games, and be on Instagram, on your WhatsApp, on your Facebook. So you have too many things to do there. But if you can remove that distraction, it would be good if you can leave your phone for some time, at least keep certain timing just to look at it. And it would be good that if you manage your time properly, only few hours for looking at your phones, for talking to your friends, answering the WhatsApp messages and all. If you can do that, that would help you much. There was a time when my son is in class 10th now, and he has been told, we have been told as parents, when we were having a talk with the principal, he has told us that, I think you need to take the phone away from your children. So we as adults and as parents also, it's required of us to see that our children are given the time for using the social media, or giving the time, or if at all, if we can remove the phones from their hands and ask them to concentrate more on their studies, that I think would be a good idea. But we know that it's very, very difficult with the youngsters today, that they are stuck to their, glued to their phones and social media. But it is good if we can tell them about time management, and tell them that it is good if you can remove these distractions, because these are distractions that can lead you to this, destructions. And the students should, yes.
Sanjay, if we can stop here, then we can come back to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, for enlightening us on the time management, which is one very important factor examination. And also, I hope that the students do, benefit which you have shared with us, the very good tips. So we'll come back to you. And now I would like to request Dr. Maxwell Lingdot, the counselor and career expert from Shillong, to throw some light on questioning stress during examinations and strategies to cope up with it. Dr. Maxwell?
Thank you, ma'am. A very good afternoon. Ma'am, is my slide visible?
Yes, you can continue.
All right. Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to everyone present. The topic that has been given to me is questioning stress during examinations and strategies to cope with it. The first presenter, Ms. Ma'am Marak, has covered a lot of points on which I'll be covering myself too, related to time management. Ma'am, I'm going to my second slide. Please let me know if you can see my second slide.
Yes.
Okay. So when we're talking about examination stress, I would start off by talking about fear. And according to the APA Dictionary of Psychology, fear is it's an intense emotion aroused by detection of imminent threat involving an immediate alarm reaction that mobilizes the organism by triggering a set of psychological changes. Now, when we are talking about fear, it varies to a certain extent from what we call anxiety. So in the former, what happens is it is more of a short-term response to a present, clearly identifiable threat. While when we are talking about anxiety, it is more of the latter is more of a future-oriented long-term response focused on a diffuse threat. Now, when we are talking about fear, this word or this term or this concept encompasses a lot of things when it comes to examination. So when we are talking about examination, we are talking about the fear that is there before exams, the fear that is there after during the exams, and the fear that is there after exams while we are all waiting for our results. So when we are talking about the exam phobia, it is a fear of exams. I think that is something we all know. But somehow it is unexplained excess fear for a situation that leads to avoidance of the situation. So we do hear or we do see cases where children start having loose motion every time they have to go for to do the exams. Some of them, they fall sick. Some of them, they start vomiting. Some of them, they start having a lot of tremors and all of that, because they feel that exam is something that is a larger than life kind of an task, and it is something that it'll be very difficult for them to do. So this excessive and irrational fear of exams leads to increased levels of anxiety in students and worsens without any proper help or guidance. So I'm very grateful at this moment to NCERT for organizing this session today, because as elders, as counselors, as teachers, as those taking tuitions, as those who are working hand in hand with the students, it is very important for us to be that kind of an elder person to guide our students. Okay, so at this point of the discussion, I think I would like to stress on the importance for us to guide our students. Of course, we do prepare our students with completing the syllabus, with giving them suggestions on what will be coming, what is important, what to prepare, or which question we should work on, etc. But I think the guidance part is missing, as in how do we go about this? Yeah. So exam fear is caused due to many factors. So what are the few of the reasons? Number one is the fear of faring badly in exams. So this constantly happens with students where exams is approaching, they're not very sure how they're going to perform. Some of the seniors or some of their senior in schools or in the 11 and 12 and so on will say, oh, this subject is very difficult, it's very tough, and so on and so forth. So that itself adds to the fear of what if I cannot perform very well in this particular exam. Number two is the fear of letting down parents and teachers. Okay, so somewhere along the line, as students, we feel obliged to our parents, we feel obliged to our teachers because they've done so much, they've provided so much for us, to our tutors. And then, what if I don't get the kind of marks that they expect? I will be letting them down. So that adds to the fear. Number three, fear of certain subjects that are considered difficult. So this is one reason at any point of time, the statistics will show that students really fear maths and science, because somewhere along the lines, over the discussions in the classroom with friends, with peers, all of that, there are certain subjects which are being tagged difficult, and hence there's that fear towards studying that particular subject or preparing for that particular subject because it is difficult. The next one is the inability to concentrate while studying. And I would like to reiterate what Ma'am Marak has said. The constant use of mobile phones. I've seen it at home with my niece and nephews. For if we say take a break, for them taking a break is rushing to their mobile phones and playing with the mobile phones and texting, and that goes on for a long, long time. Now that somehow will become a hindrance because they are not able to concentrate. They are more focused on replying to the texts of the friends or talking to them and, discussing and so on. So this could be one factor. And of course, there are other, distractions that are there. It could be the noise, it could be other siblings playing, it could be other things. So all of this will eventually add to the fear. Like Ma'am Marak said, we need to question ourselves, what did we do on that particular day? What did we study? And when the result that we get and when the answer that we get is negative, we have not been able to complete a certain chapter that we have kept for the day or a certain subject that we have kept for the day, we start having a lot of fear because somewhere along the line, we feel we have missed the deadline. The next is giving importance to grade and using those as an impression of self-esteem. Okay, so sometimes more than anything, the students who are sitting and preparing, they are not preparing for the exams just for, making sure that they have, covered all the topics, they've covered, done all the whatever is necessary in the subject, but their focus is more on, I want to get good marks, I want to get good grades. I need to get better grades than my friend, or, there's so much of this competition that goes on between them and their friends and their classmates and their cousins. And somewhere along the line, they feel, no, I should study so much and do so much to make sure that I get better grades than everybody else. Now, while this competition is healthy, yet it can be very negative because then it hampers on your mental health, on, your focus on that particular study, because your aim is not to really prepare to get good marks, but to beat down on someone through the grades and create a good self-esteem. The next thing, which is very common, is when we're talking about this fear, what adds to the fear is negative self-talk. I cannot do this subject. I do not know the sum. I can't memorize these formulas. I don't think I will pass in this subject. So there's a lot of this negative self-talk, which if done very often or too often, then it starts affecting on the self-esteem of the person. Then they start feeling that, okay, I don't think I'm competent enough. I don't think I can do this. I don't think, so we have seen cases where people don't go and do their exams anymore because there's too much of the negative self-talk towards themselves. And the second last reason is setting a high bar for oneself. So they want to they've become too over ambitious. I don't know whether it comes from them or it comes from their family members. They want to make sure that they would have revised all the subjects and all the syllabus, everything twice, thrice. They want to make sure that they sleep very less. So instead of sleeping 6 to 7 hours, they sleep only for 2 to 3 hours. They make sure they just don't waste any time and all of that. And that in the long run will affect the well-being of the individual, mentally and physically. And lastly, we have the tendency, students have the tendency to compare oneself with others. So this comparison, I will involve the parents here and the mentors here. Sometimes this comparison comes from within oneself. Sometimes this comparison comes from others. Your neighbor's children are studying so much. Your auntie's children are studying so much. All of that comparison somehow adds to the sphere of the individual. Moving on. So when we're talking about exam phobia, it often leads to poor academic performance, because if the fear is suppressed, or the fear is just piling up day in and day out, you'll notice that children all of a sudden becomes very irritable. They become aggressive. You talk to them, they start shouting back at you without no reason, and you won't even know why they're acting like that. That is because this phobia or the fear has entered into them, has sunk into them, that they started feeling lonely, they loss of appetite, they're not able to eat so much, then they keep constantly complain of headache, then they feel alone, they're not mixing with anyone because they feel that there's nothing more in life to do except to just sit in my room and study for months together. So all of this in the long run can result to a lot of stress, and of course anxiety and depression. Now, the effects of exam phobia overall on the physical and mental health and leads to lower self-esteem. Now, the lower self-esteem would mean they start feeling very inferior about themselves. They start looking at someone who get very good marks and they start shying away. So the performance is affected. The performance of the person is affected. So in this way, they're not able to concentrate and focus as is required. Moving on. Now, I'm going to stress on this part on guidance. So we know why we are stressed. We know why students are stressed. But I think the guidance part here should not be on the students alone. The guidance part here should be on the parents. Yeah. Sometimes the parents, we need to talk to the parents and tell them what is a healthy way, what is a good way to guide your students. I mean, to your children. Sometimes the students are doing well, they are coping well with their studies, but too much pressure from their parents may disrupt the concentration, may affect the performance, or may affect the preparation of the child. So I think as institutions, we should have sessions even with parents, and because somewhere along the line, parents needs to be supportive. They need to be there. They need to, give good food and make sure children sleep and all of that, but not be a harassment or making sure that, they are on top of them and, being abusive and scold them, the children, every now and then and say, study, study, study. This kind of a push, or this kind of a continuous push may be deteriorating to the person, to the child. It may even result to unpleasant situations. Yeah. So what students really require is emotional support, positive reinforcement. They have listed there. It could be mentors, it could be tutors, because there are students who are very close to their tutors. They go to tuition, they're able to really, plan well with the tutors, etc. So here, when we are talking about guidance here, like I said, I've kept here about the role of the teachers and the parents and the students. I'll not be touching on this. Another panelist I saw will be touching on the role of the educational institutions and the role of parents as support. So as elders, they need to mentor what? We need to mentor the thinking processes of the children. Now we need to just have a chit chat with the students and say, okay, so how is it going? How many subjects you've been able to complete? Anything that you want to talk, anything that you want to discuss. It's really important that we listen to the students, okay? Because so it's not a one-way kind of approach, but sometimes it's important for us to understand the students as they are. Some of them may say, I don't think I can cope up with this. Some of them may even have different learning styles. Some of them may learn best by just listening. Some of them may learn best by jotting down notes. Some of them may learn best by visuals. So they may use a lot of internet because they need to understand concepts. So I think as elders, we need to understand the students as they are, and not making them study like everybody else. I mean, different approaches perhaps may help. Yeah? So that is there, and then we need to make sure that they don't they don't have fear with them. They are not being disturbed by other thoughts, by they're distracted by other things. That kind of a dialogue and discussion should be there. The planning here has to be in accordance with those who mentor them. Now, when I'm talking about mentor here, I'm talking about who are they really close to? Are they close to their mom, to their dad, to the tuition sir or mom? Are they close to the elder sibling? So when we're talking about planning, I think it has to be in accordance. Yeah. So for instance, if the child is very close to the father, perhaps he or she can make himself or herself free at the time when the father is free, when he comes back from office and all of that. And prior to the father coming home, he or she can do other things like maybe practice maths and all of that. So when we are talking about planning, it should not be we leave it to the children to plan. Sometimes we need, like Ma'am Marak has said, when we are talking about time management, what do we do? So we wake up at 7. Okay, so if the child wakes up at 7, what time they have breakfast, what time they sit and study, what time do they take breaks? I think Ma'am Marak has mentioned about the importance of taking breaks. Now, even if the children are taking breaks, it should be constructive. What do they do in the breaks? They take a walk, okay, or they have a glass of milk, or they talk to a friend, okay, so and see how is it. That kind of a discussion is also important with their friends to just catch up and fresh up their minds. And so they can do many other things. Maybe they could take a bath even while taking break. That itself can be a good break. It can be very refreshing for them, etc. Now, as students, it is very important for us to question fear. Now, students say, I'm not getting sleep, I'm afraid of the exams, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. Now, we need to teach them to question fear. Now, once we are able to question fear, we get very practical results. We get very practical answers to these questions. Now, if they fear because of this subject, then maybe that child needs help in that particular subject. If the fear is because if the fear is because there's so much to cover, maybe as an elder, we need to plan and say, okay, let's do this subject every day, 1 hour each or half an hour each and things like that. But when we question fear, we need to understand that fear is temporary. The exam fear is temporary. So we need to tell them, look, relax. You're not going to have this fear forever. It's just for this particular 1 month, 2 months now. You will be able to overcome this fear. So the students need to know that this fear is something, it's not a baggage that they're going to carry for the rest of their lives. So in this way, we are trying to ease them out and say, okay, this is temporary, just for some time. I need to work this out. The sooner we fix it, the better students will be able to redirect their focus and study. So they say, oh, okay, so in another month's time, this fear would go off. So I need to give my best now. So, we handle this entire fear in a very positive way. To start with, students need to sit and plan. And I think that has been covered by Ma'am Marak. Planning is very important. How many hours in a day do we need to sit and study? And then when we say sit and study, means seriously sitting in the table and the chair and study. What I see with many of the students is they sleep in the bed from morning to night saying they're studying, but in actual they've not been able to cover much because half the time they're sleeping, half the time they're playing with the phone, all of that. So this kind of planning is very important. How many months, how many weeks, how many days? So all of these needs to be kept in a calendar. You need to plan for your day. Ma'am Marak has mentioned here things to do. What do I do on a Monday? I'll finish science on a Monday. On Tuesday, I'll work on maths. On Wednesday, I'll work in civics and like that. Okay, so that kind of a planning is very important. So at the end of the day, that the student is able to feel accomplished and say, you know what, today I completed science. wow, so even when the child goes off to sleep, is very happy because she feels accomplished, he feels accomplished. The second day he says, today I completed everything about civics. Okay? Or today I cannot do this topic. I think I will meet my tuition sir. I will discuss this with someone who knows it. So that kind of a thing is important. How many subjects, how many hours to spend per day per subject. Now, when I'm talking about this, I meant to mention here that when we say preparing for exams, it does not really mean we have to sit 30 days in a month and study. There are so many other things that we can do in between to refresh ourselves, to take a break, to just relax. It's very important to just relax even while studying, because that's how you regain back your concentration. Subjects that requires more time and so on. So that comes with the package when you plan. So it is very important to take control of ourselves, take control of our mind, get enough sleep. That's very important. We need to make sure that our students get enough sleep. Physical exercise is important. So, I have not shared it here, but, even in the planning that Ma'am Barak has mentioned, even when it comes to time management, you could always tell those who are studying, look, take a break. So what do you do in 1 hour? You come and help in the kitchen. Why don't you just come and just be in the kitchen and help with something? You'll feel refreshed. Or like ma'am has said, why don't you just take your pet for a walk and come back? So you take these breaks, constructive, good breaks of 40 minutes, of 1 hour or 30 minutes, and come back and study. That can be very motivating for the students to the constructive breaks I've mentioned, to regain back their concentration. Good and healthy diet. Okay? This is again very important, because you will realize that students, when they study, they feel hungry every now and then. So they keep coming to the kitchen and say, Mom, Dad, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. So again, what do you give them? Do you give them chips? Do you give them popcorns? Perhaps we can give something healthy, maybe fruits, maybe something, which will build on the health. Yes, exam fear is temporary, like I've mentioned. Exam is a phase that everyone has to go through. So has to go through. Sorry, this is a spelling mistake there. So I think once in a while, as elders, we need to sit with the students and say, okay, even I went through the stress, but it's okay. You'll go through the stress. Even your elder brother or sister went through the stress. It's okay. It's just a phase. You'll get over it. Yeah. And then plan accordingly. So I've mentioned this word plan, I think, a couple of times, because we can really handle this exam stress or this fear or this anxiety, all of that, if we feel we have been able to take control of the situation, of the time, take control of the subjects that we have to study, etc.
Dr. Maxwell.
Yes.
Yeah, now I think we'll just stop here with your presentation, and we will come back to you. So thank you for for really highlighting on the very important aspect, that is how to tackle examination fear, and also the strategies which has to be taken up by the students. I think they are excellent. I hope students will it will really help. Those strategies will really help the students, and especially you have rightly pointed out on on students having phobia, examination phobia, or fear of especially with maths and science. This is very common. Even my own daughter has the same fear in maths. So thank you for this for elaborating on examination fear. And now I would like to the next speaker is Ms. Bansara B. Pasa, a counselor from Government Children's Home, girls from Ribhoi district of, and she's from Nongpur, and to kindly enlighten us all on how others can help students tackle with examination fear. So Ms. Bansara, kindly start your presentation.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you, sir. That was so educative, and thank you, Ma'am Sanjay, on your topic too. It was something that I also learned something new every time. So the topic that I'm going to cover today is coping up with exam stress and the coexistence effort of our caretakers and institutions. So, basically what happened is being worried about how well we are going to perform in our exams, of finding it hard to understand what we were studying, feeling unprepared. These are all of the things that make us stressful or make students stressful, especially during our exams. And it's normal to feel a little bit of a little amount of stress for the upcoming exams, because in the process it can challenge and stimulate each one of us to give our best shot to our ability or capability. But sometimes so having too much of stress has an impact on each and every individual. And some of the effects that are number one is over worrying. Then we experience anxiety. Then we start losing sleep. We have a tendency to be forgetful, then irritable, then become exhausted, or sometimes we feel out of control. And sometimes we even have a situation where we start hampering ourselves physically or sometimes even mentally too. So these are all of the things which altogether impact on our ability to prepare our exams and therefore negatively affect our level of performance. Therefore, it is important for an individual to look out for ways and means to tackle this problem. Although the problem is likely to be universal, but there's always a way out for each and every one of us. So how can an individual cope with stressful situation may vary from one person to another. Some of the coping strategy that I have tried sorting out and hopefully will come in handy to any individuals who are going to prepare the exams. The first thing is, as Maxwell has already prepared, has already taken into account, has already explained to us like what is stress and what is fear. The first thing first is we need to also identify the source of our stress. Identifying the source of our stress is quite important, so as it enables us or any individual to understand your root cause. For example, it can be, it can be stressful due to the lack of time, or it can be our retention power, or our studying environment, or the study material that we have with, or any personal relationship that we are having. So the second one is, if we are studying, we also need to understand the context of what we are studying. Sometimes just because it's exam, it does not implicate that we have to always mark it by heart. Always make it a point to understand the context that you are studying. Find ways and means how to make it more simpler and make it more easier for yourself to remember. Then the third thing is we need to develop a specific timetable. Ma'am Cindy has already spoke about time management. So I think so all students need to develop a specific timetable so as to enable themselves to know how much timing I've spent on this particular thing, how much timing I've spent on this particular subject. There are different individuals who can study differently. Some individuals studies for long hours. Some individuals can sit only for 2-3 hours. But it does not mean that if it work out for one person, it might work out for the other person. So while fixing a timetable for studying, understand yourself first. You need to be realistic about how much time you are able to put in or to complete a certain subject or certain paper that you're going to attempt to study. So other thing, and the next one is always remember that we always need to value our time and prioritize it, not to compromise it. Sometimes, there'll be times that you need to prioritize your timing. It's not to compromise so as to say, other than studying, I'll finish first this work, then I'll study it later, or I'll do this first, or I might take a look or a glance at my own social account rather than studying. It will take me only half an hour. So you need to prioritize it. So make sure while studying also to make important notes. for easy and future reference. Therefore, uh, rather than packing up page and picking up page by page while studying, always make it a point, something that you feel that it's important to know, something that you feel that it's important for you to learn. Make it a point that you have specifically one copy for those things, that makes you easier for future referrals. Remember, if you still have time, take a mock test at home. So you trying to solve your previous question papers or your pre-board exams, because your teacher, I'll tell you, it's they are experienced. They know what kind of questions are going to come, and definitely those questions that have already set during your selections or your pre-boards are one of the most likely to be pop up during your final exams too. So always try to take your mock test at home, so that you'll get a clearer picture how you're going to attempt a paper and how much time you're going to take to solve it, and most likely what are the expected questions that are going to come during your board exams. And one thing also, we should always remember to eat healthy. As Sir Maxwell has rightly said, during exams time, we all have food cravings, especially children nowadays like to have these junk foods. So, but we have to make sure to watch out what we eat, because during exams, we need to be physically as well as mentally fit. Remember to also always take breaks in between. Do what you love to do, listening to soothing music, watch movies, read. Reading is one of the best exercise, because it helps not only in your retention skills but also in your vocabulary. So exercise and meditate, do yoga, or do some artistic activities like poetries, dance, painting, music, which enables us to express ourselves in a non-competence and non-judgmental manner, which are intrinsically healing, and it allows us to bask in the sheer joy of doing an activity for ourselves. So, and then we also need to try to cut out on the use of social media. Many youngsters nowadays have different account where, they like to place themselves in a position where everybody like to be seen. So sometimes they might have that FOMO fear, the fear of missing out. So, but then at least prioritizing your study and cut out on social media is also one of the things that you can really cope up with your stress. And you also need to develop a positive self concept and stop comparing yourself with others. And you need to believe in yourself. And the other thing also, you really need to set boundaries. Setting boundaries can be difficult sometimes with our friends, with our family, with at home too. But if you want to give time to your study, you need to really set boundaries for yourself too. Like, this is my studying time. I need no one to come and disturb me, or this is the time that I'm studying. I would not like to take calls during this time, or I not prefer people calling me at this point of time. So these are the things that you really need to have, or to set boundaries for yourself. Then other thing is that, while studying, always organize your thing properly. Sometimes having a messy table or too much of clutter, sometimes it can have so as to say a wrong note or wrong notation on the way you study. So try to declutter your table, organize, keep the important things at your hand end, so that you get things which you need at that point of time. If you study, you don't have to take your time out for another 10 minutes looking for one thing or the other, or I kept this note over here but I'm not finding it. So try to organize things in a very proper manner, so it becomes tidy. You get things at your hand end. So that is a thing. And always remember to get proper rest and proper sleep. Not necessarily because it's exam time, I have to get up 3 o'clock in the morning and I'll sleep at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I'll just get a 2 hours or 3 hours. Sometimes these are the things that hamper our health, physical health. So during your study times, always remember to keep yourself hydrated, get proper rest, have proper sleep, know your timing, you know your own timing, when you're going to study, when you're going to sleep, when you're going to sit for chit chat and all of that. So when you're sitting freely to sometimes use self-reflection for yourself to analyze how much you've been able to complete, how much is left of you to study, and what are the course that you still need to complete, or what are the things that you need to some help from your teachers or from your parents. And during this time, remember to have a positive reinforcement rather than being self-critical. There'll be time that thinking about yourself that I cannot do this, I won't be able to finish, I won't be able to be like her, I won't be able to do like this, I won't be able to do like that. Not necessarily. Sometimes you have to understand being too much of self-critical has a negative impact on yourself. So you have to have a positive self-concept about yourself, things that these are the things that I've been able to accomplish, these are the things that I have been able to do, and these are the things I will be able to do. So during your free time, always make a point to have or to make a list of things that are your weaknesses and your strength too. These are the things that are going to help you realize your potential. Sometimes not necessarily because I'm good at English and bad at maths, I won't fare well. So you write your strong and your strong point and your weaknesses. And also remember to hang out with friends who really motivate you. The circle of friends that you have has one of the biggest impact in our daily life. Friends that that build you, does not destroy you. So remember to hang out with friends who really motivates you, who really help you, who really understand you. That does not necessarily mean when you finish hanging out, I need to leave and go for my studying and all of that. They need not tell you every time that you're planning to leave. They'll say that it's okay, fine, another 30 minutes or another 15 minutes or another 10 minutes. So remember to hang out with friends who really motivate you. And remember to make sure that you have everything ready a day before your exams. Having everything ready, such as your admit card or your pen, your pencils, or your rulers, or everything. That means a day before your exams, you need to be prepared for that too. Not necessarily because day after tomorrow is my exams, I'm going to bring it a day after tomorrow only. So you need to make sure that everything is ready from your end also. So other thing, to avoid panicking, to avoid stressing yourself out, make it a point to reach your exam center a little bit early. I cannot really fathom right now, because why in Shillong we have so much of traffic jam. So if I say this, somebody is going to laugh at me and say, like, it's not possible at all. You might say so, but then even if we come out at 7 o'clock, there has been incidents where students from rural area have come out at 7 o'clock, but still reached around about 9:30 to the examination hall. I know it's a little bit impossible to say so, but always make an effort to reach your exam center a little bit early, so as to avoid panicking, also as to avoid stressing yourself. Remember that when you reach your exams hall, do not panic. Sit, take a deep breath, read the instructions given very carefully, and do not hesitate to ask any question to your examiner if you have any confusion. And remember, when you are answering a question, to mark your answers properly and neatly. If you're struggling with stress, with anxiety or panic attack, still, because out here we're just giving you advice, we don't know the present picture of each and every individual. It's always nice and it's always advisable for any student who feel that they're experiencing these stress or panic attack or something that is not aligned with their mental health. Please visit anybody who is professionally trained, such as a school counselor or a mental health professional, or anybody who feels that can give you help. So these are the things that I have tried preparing for coping with examinations. So what as parents can do so as to help relieve our children from stress. First thing first is, as parents, sometimes we need to understand that we do not have to live our dreams to our children. Sometimes because we did not become what we wanted, we're trying to live our dreams again to our children, giving them the stress of studying hard, fulfilling our unfinished dreams. So it's always important for parents to understand that your children are not the one who's going to complete your dreams. So understand that first, in the first thing. You need to understand your child capacity too. Sometimes just because your child has been doing well in school, or sometimes they have been doing less well in school, it does not need and mean you'll have high expectations from your children. It's not bad to have high expectations, it's always good, but then sometimes you have to understand your children capacity before setting your expectations too high. So because I've had cases where children are not uh, they're not good academically, but still during board exams their parents expect them to bring good marks by asking them to study hard, or by asking them to, you have to become this, you have to study hard so that you can go for this technical line or something or the other comes up. So it's always good to understand your child capabilities too. And as parents, we also need to give time to our children to understand, they are stressful. Everybody is stressful, but that does not necessarily mean that sometimes when we were young, we had exam stress and our parents were not up to date like nowadays, where we have a platform like this to discuss. So the best thing is to discipline us with a stick or something. But then nowadays, as parents, we have to understand that sitting with our children, giving them little bit time, knowing knowing about how they are doing, how well they are performing, or how well it is going with them, it's always nice. Because sometimes during stressful time, we would always like to have somebody who listens to us rather than somebody who's advising us, or who's talking, who's telling us do this or do that. We would like somebody to listen to us.
Right.
So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mansara.
Thank you, Ms. Bansara, for
Okay.
those,
Thank you.
for those tips both to students and parents. I hope both will be benefiting from, from those points which you have highlighted, for like identifying the stress, then mock tests, or how to organize things properly, then pointing out the strength and weaknesses. So there are a number of strategies, ways and means which you have also pointed out, like cut off from the social media. So I hope both parents and students will benefit. So now the last speaker is Mr. Rajiv Lalu, Assistant Lecturer, Psychology, Lady King College, Shillong. I request you, Mr. Rajiv Lalu, to kindly highlight on planning and best strategies to tackle examination stress. Mr. Lalu?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. So I will not waste any time and dive into it,
Yes.
I guess. So yeah, so building on the points that the previous speakers highlighted, I think it's safe to assume that the mere mention of the word exams induces anxiety in students these days, right? And with all the media and medical attention on
Mr. Rajiv, would you please check the audio, because we are not getting your audio. Mr. Rajiv, can you hear us? Professor Bala, I think his connection is not good. So this is the MANODARPAN Paricharcha's every Friday we bring you this live telecast of 90 minutes from 2:30 to 4. And today we are discussing the very important topic with these eminent, you know, panelists preparing to tackle examination stress. And as I, noted down so many points from, from Miss Singhji, as she focused about time management, how important is it, and cope with the stress, set the priorities and tips and strategies we have gained from her. Dr. Maxwell clearly said about fear and how fear is different from anxiety, and exams are not more than our life. So all these things are very important for every one, I think, all the stakeholders of this session, whether it is students or whether parents or teachers. So let's try to connect again with Mr. Rajiv. Mr. Rajiv, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, sir, but can you hear me as well? Okay.
Please carry on, Mr. Rajiv.
Yes. Like I was saying, with all the attention on the negative stress, sorry, impact of stress, it is easy to reach the conclusion that stress is, generally unequivocally or irredeemably bad, something that must be avoided. Uh, it compounds our problems, and by failing to face our intense challenges, we never overcome them actually. So we have to understand that stress has many wonderful attributes to it. It reminds us that we care. It connects us directly with the most challenging and important aspects of our lives. So now, I'm not suggesting that sustained stress or chronic stress does not take a toll, but only that stress can also bring unexpected benefits as well. So, if you can share my slides, sir, uh, that would be helpful.
You can
Yes,
carry
yes.
on, Rajiv, then
My
we will
s-
put the slide. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So,
carry on.
as a psychologist myself, there is a plethora of research available, and this is common knowledge in the psychology realm, uh, that individuals who adopt um, stress is enhancing kind of a mindset in their lives show great work performance and fewer negative symptoms of stress than those who adopt a more stress is kind of a debilitating kind of a uh, perspective. So, drawing on this research, they have reached a consensus that simply acknowledging or simply identifying your stress can also act as a stress reducer. So, building on this, I'd like to also assert that we all, based on the previous points that the previous speakers presented, I think it's clear that stress is simply it's a universal process. Everybody goes through stress. We go through stress. It's a common thing. It's naturally built. We are all inborn. It's a natural response to stresses around surrounding our sorry from our environment, right? But contrary to what we might think, our body's stress response was not designed to kill us. In fact, the evolutionary goal of the stress response was to help boost the body and the mind into an enhanced functioning to help us grow and meet the demands we face. So when the body encounters stress, it prompts hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol and even dopamine, which fuels the brain and the body with blood and oxygen. So, a response which propels the individual into a state of higher functioning, right? So, it helps with, uh, it induces growth and releases chemicals into the body that often rebuilds cells and synthesizes proteins and enhances immunity as well. So, we should not be viewing stress as a negative thing. In fact, it's like I said earlier, it's very important to acknowledge your stress and identify and categorize your stress. So generally, we identify two types of stress. There's a eustress and there is distress. Eustress is the good kind of stress that we all causing anxiety, tiredness, and ranges from that. And goes on to even create problems of, hypertension or depression. So we have to look out for these differences and identify. Now we can all safely assume that the stress caused by exam, like Dr. Maxwell said earlier, is temporary, and therefore it cannot be classified as distress. It's a eustress. So we must use these uh, use these criteria to categorize stress into whichever category they fit into, and acknowledge them and identify them as stress which is enhancing rather than debilitating, right? And like I said earlier, I can't see the slide that is being presented, so I'm just going to wait, let me just check if that's available. So okay, so based on this, I would like to suggest a few strategies that students can develop or to reduce stress that is caused by exams. Now, according to research, according to many research that is, and this has been common knowledge in the psychology field for over many decades. In fact, the first study on this was done around the 1900s, in the beginning of 1900s. So the idea is that most of the common strategies that students use for exams, such as rereading a concept or rereading a topic or a material for studies, and highlighting points, which I personally did myself when I was in school, and also making notes and summarizing notes. These, according to research, which were as recent as 2021, have shown that these are not very high utility and not very efficient when it comes to doing well in your exams. Research have shown that, in fact, rereading, highlighting, and making notes are not very effective and efficient strategies or techniques to use for exams. Now, this is very counterintuitive because we believe that, at least I believe that these were the strategies that one should have used: making notes, highlighting points on a textbook, and rereading a concept over and over again strengthened my memory of these materials that I had to examine. And I frankly thought I did really well with these techniques. But evidence has shown through countless research that these techniques are not very helpful and actually ineffective. Instead, they propose, if you can change to the next slide, in fact, they propose the most effective technique to study is something called active recall or retrieval practice. Now, what is active recall? Now, before I dive into what active recall is, I'd just like to share uh, some points that they mentioned. So next slide, please. Some actual quote from the studies about active recall. So this is the actual quote from the study that uh, was conducted. Actually, it was a review of literature of several studies that were conducted, and they highlighted that techniques such as rereading and highlighting and making notes and summarizing were not actually helpful. In fact, active retrieval was the best practice, and these were done among students across countries, across timelines, right? And throughout all these research, they came to the same consensus that active recall is very helpful and a very effective strategy. And actually, also it has further benefits than they even they anticipated. The researchers anticipated. So, what is active recall? Now, active recall or retrieval practice, or simply testing effect, is a process of actively recalling and applying knowledge. The word active here is must be emphasized because most of the learning we do is very passive in nature, like rereading, like highlighting. This is very passive. However, in this active recall process, it can be considered as an alternative learning method to other options. So, rereading, highlighting, and writing notes gets us comfortable with the material we are studying and convinces us that we are mastering it. But in reality, this is often an illusion known as a fluency effect, which causes us to mistake fluency for mastery, meaning that we understand something on the surface but don't have the deeper knowledge required to actually apply it into practice, and do not retain this information for longer. So one practical strategy, one practical technique that students can apply using active recall is: when you study a concept, all right, when you study a concept or any topic or any subtopic from your textbook, the idea is to close your book, and try to recall the facts that you learned. Maybe reiterate the fact that you have learned, and the more explicit, the better. Maybe you can write it down, maybe you can say it out loud. The more explicit, it's better. So the idea behind this is, when your brain when you're, as opposed to just simply reading it, when you read a material over and over again, it's a very passive in nature. But when you make an effort to recall, you're pushing your brain to do something harder, which is more difficult for your brain to do it, right? And when the brain exerts more effort, the idea is, the science behind this is that when the brain makes more efforts, the information that you learn gets more strongly embedded and encoded into your brain.
Right.
So that is the idea. Again, it's very counterintuitive, because most of the time we believe that the idea about learning or studying is you should be putting more information into your brain, right? That is the general idea we have.
Right.
But research has shown that recalling facts, taking things out of your brain, is actually more helpful in helping you retain information for longer. So I think I'm running out of time, because
Yes. You should conclude
I'm so sorry.
within a minute. Within a minute, you should
Yeah.
conclude.
So
please.
okay. So if you can show the last slide, I'll just take
Please.
a minute. Okay.
Let's watch the last
So,
slide
yeah.
on the screen, please.
Is it there?
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the techniques that the students can actually use. The first one is closing your book, like I've previously stated. The second one is practice testing. So the best way is, find materials, find past question papers, and try to answer questions. And sometimes students ask me, sometimes I have not read the topic, I'm not familiar with the topic, how can I start testing, right, without studying? But research has shown that even before you start studying a topic, if you practice, right, something called the hypercorrection effect works into play, which primes your brain into learning about it more enthusiastically, and then the information you learn after practicing is retained for longer duration of time, and then the other practices, which
Thank
I
you.
highlighted there.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. Thanks for the wonderful pictures, and I must say this is the wonderful research which you have shared with us. Professor Valaida, we have hardly 1.5 minutes for you to please conclude this session.
Thank you once again from my side to Mr. Rajiv Lalu, for highlighting on the two types of stress, that is the eustress and the de-stress, and also the strategies, the techniques which you have shared with us. It is research based. For example, the active recall. I hope students will really practice this technique. So thank you so once again. And I thank all the panelists for highlighting on on various across the various even the from one speaker to another speaker. And for example, Mrs. Sinji has highlighted on time management. Do more in less time. Because of time management, we can do more in less time. Then as well has rightly pointed out on planning, which is very, very one of the important factor in managing examination stress. Then mock tests, which Ms. Bansara has pointed out. I think everyone, if students can really do this, it will kind of a practice, a warm up for them before the exams. And lastly, thank you, Mr. Rajiv Lalu, for those wonderful strategies based on research. And I thank you all. And as I have said from the very beginning, let us prepare our students beforehand to tackle examination stress before it's too late.
Right.
So thank you all once again. Thank you, Mr. Rahul, and all the CIET team in Delhi.
Thank you very much. And for to convening all these panelists, I must thank you, Professor Valaida, for this wonderful session. Thank you very much for your time.
Shortage of time. We are running short of time.
All right, no problem. Thank you very much. So, dear viewers, this is our session. MANODARPAN Paricharcha comes to an end now. But don't go away. Keep watching. We'll be right back with the next session of a webinar. Keep watching. Stay tuned. Namaskar.